Hey everybody, welcome back to Great Northwest Weaponry. This is Thomas, and today we are taking a look at one that we've been sitting on for a really long time, the Hanyang Type 88, copied off of the German Kommissiongewehr 1888. This is it's an obscure one. It's one that I'm very happy to have in my collection, and again, it's one that we've been sitting on forever, intending to do a video on, and just haven't gotten the chance to. There's been some complications leading up to that, and we'll get into talk about that a bit more when we go to both the gun room and the tabletop segments here in a moment. But again, just glad to finally get this thing out. I've been waiting for a while. I think I've owned this thing for about 3 years. Also, the place that I'm out shooting today, you may notice a pretty significant amount of tree wreckage out ahead of us. This area has always had fallen trees, as we're kind of on top of a mountain with the mountain keeps on going up just a little bit past here. Makes for a pretty good backstop. This is where I used to shoot like years ago. I think maybe the first couple of videos on the channel were shot in this area, but the whole thing burnt down actually right when we released the Carcano M38 video. Like the following week, this whole region caught fire and burned. But anyway, let's go ahead and go into the gun room and talk a bit more about the Type 88. The history of the Hanyang Type 88 is pretty straightforward, though it is a long history. It is a copy of the German Gewehr 88, a gun that we took a look at a while back. I'll be posting a link to that video in this video's description, as this is a direct copy of those. The only major difference, and I'll grab my Gewehr 88 to show this. So here we've got my Gewehr 88. You can see that this has this goofy sleeve over the barrel. This acts as a heat shield. The Chinese would swap this out for a more traditional handguard. But outside of that, the two designs are extremely similar, to the point that I was actually able to grab the bolt head off of my 88 Gewehr, Spandau, and swap it onto my Hanyang bolt as my Hanyang Type 88. So unfortunately missing the extractor claw, and those aren't the easiest thing in the world to find, but I'm going to put this away real quick. I am not 100% clear on if the Chinese copying this rifle design was actually something that was sanctioned, I suppose. Essentially, I haven't really seen anything confirming for absolute certain that they bought the rights to do this. But in 1895, and I'm going to probably absolutely murder some Chinese words here, so I apologize. I don't even remotely speak Chinese. It is a language that is way out of my grasp. But Qing, it's either King, Qing, or Qing Dynasty. The Qing Dynasty, or however it is said, adopted this new rifle design in 1895, if I'm not mistaken. And it was put into pretty mass production, and they did not stop producing it until the end of World War II, or for them, the Second Sino-Japanese War. It would be slowly phased out near the last few years of its production for the Chiang Kai-shek rifle, another Chinese copy of a German rifle, the Chiang Kai-shek rifle, I believe being based on the Kar 98K. I would love to get my hands on one at some point. Don't presently own one, but this thing has definitely seen a few different shots at life. These would be kept in circulation for an extended period of time. The People's Army of China got their hands on this, the Communist Army. Definitely got their hands on this example, as indicated by the crest on the stock there. We'll take a closer look at that when we get to the tabletop. But when they did, they scrubbed all other markings off of the receiver. So I cannot absolutely confirm even that this is a Hanyang, though it seems to be. These did go through a couple of updates, one in I think 1904, it may have been like 1915, and then another in 1930. And this one does not seem to have any of the aforementioned updates. I do not believe this example to be safe firing Spitzer cartridges, hence me having to get my hands on some rather difficult to find 8mm J round nose Mauser ammunition. It is slightly smaller diameter and way slower moving than the JS or Spitzer ammunition that is more common. That ammo could potentially blow this rifle to pieces. Now, once these did wind up in the hands of the Communist Chinese military, they could be seen all the way until Vietnam. A lot of these wound up in the hands of the Viet Minh under arrangements that they had with China for the swapping of arms and ammunition, or the supplying of it, rather. That is, I would not be surprised if that's how this gun got into the United States, because this thing has no import markings, which really surprised me. Most of these that you'll find do have import markings. It's just a sad truth. But they had a long life. They were used all through the Boxer Rebellion, both Sino-Japanese wars, I believe, World War II, all the way into Vietnam. So they had a long, long military life. This one definitely shows its age. It is beat to heck. Somebody at some point drilled a rope hole through the lower handguard portion up about 2/3 of the way up the barrel. Who knows who did that or exactly why? I mean, obviously it was to be used as a rope hole, so probably didn't have a sling that could properly attach to the swivels on this rifle. But yeah, everything from warlord era China all the way to Vietnam, these saw pretty extensive use. And approximately 1.1 million of them were made. From my understanding, production ceased entirely in 1945. I'm not 100% certain on that. Information on these is a bit sketchy. And I definitely, it was kind of a situation of I have to work with what I had. There just isn't a ton written about these. But anyway, what few markings there are, we're going to go and take a look at on the tabletop here and show you a little bit about the bolt. As I had previously stated, this rifle is nearly devoid of markings. Typically, any identifying marks would be on the receiver right here. All have been scrubbed. That is something that likely happened when the Communist People's Army got their hands on this rifle. This is the only marking on this gun, and by my understanding, I actually met a guy who could read Chinese, and I cannot even come close to reading Chinese, so I'm not even certain the proper order of how this goes, but this whole symbol here means People's Army. So this is a rifle that did wind up in the hands of the Communist People's Army of China, and that would likely be the point in time at which all the original markings were scrubbed off of the rifle, which tells me that it's very possible that this rifle was held by one of their many enemies at the time. This is a Mannlicher style rifle fed by N-block clip that would be popped into the top and fed through this bar. I don't know if that's visible. There we go. We will take a closer look at that when we go back out to the gun range here in just a few. Removal of the bolt is pretty simple. With your bolt open, just push in this lever here, and then the bolt slips out. Now, we talked about having to replace the bolt head. So the bolt head currently on this rifle, you see that right there, crescent, that is from my Gewehr 8805, of which was sent to Turkey, or at the time, the Ottoman Empire. This is the original bolt head, and that star right there could potentially indicate another communist marking, but I'm not 100% certain on that. A lot of stars are pretty widely associated with communist armies. The reason for the swap, as you can see here, this is where the extractor claw goes, and this one is absent. So it's easy enough to pull the extractor claw or the bolt head off of this. At some point, I'll probably do a full video on how to disassemble the bolt. Actually, probably going to do a poll here in the not too distant future, asking if you guys would like to generally see full bolt disassembly videos, because that is something that I've never really dabbled with. I usually, in these videos, as here, just show how to remove the bolt in bolt action rifles. Put it back in, you just push it straight through. It'll just guide itself right on through and push this out of its way as it goes. This rifle does decock if you hold the trigger while closing the bolt the rest of the way. Now, that is about all the more that we've got to look at here. So let's go ahead and take this back out to the range and show you how to put another 5 rounds through it. As we've already discussed, the Type 88 is a N-block fed Mannlicher magazine rifle. Simply take your block of 5 shots and you stick it in the top until it clicks. You want it to be seated all the way back when you do so. There is a button right there inside the trigger guard that if you decide that you don't want it to be loaded, you can push that button in and the clip pops out. This is basically a copy of the Mauser bolt, again, as we discussed. So your safety is very similar to that of a Mauser. Right now we've got the safety on, and I don't actually know if the safety works on this, so I'm actually going to test that out. All is right with the world. And now safety off, 5 shots, targets about between 60 and 70 yards. This thing hit really, really high, or rather really low. I had to aim really high at the beginning of the video. On the last 2 shots that I hit, it seemed like I maybe found the spot. So let's see if I can do a little better on this next 5 here. High left. If I aim high left, I hit. And on the, as I load the last shot, that'll be 2 shots from now, or I guess the shot after this coming one, you will notice that the clip will fall out of the bottom. So not on that shot, but the next one. And observe, clip ejects. Barely hit that last shot, so we got 3 out of 5 on that last go around. And considering I have not gotten to bring this rifle out like at all, we discussed that again when we were in the gun room, I'm not too upset about it. I'm just glad that we finally got to do this video. Again, I've been sitting on this rifle for a really long time. It's an interesting piece of history. It has a lot of history, as this thing seems to have stuck around in one military or another in China for a significant period of time. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the video. It's been Thomas, Great Northwest Weaponry, and I'll see you all next time.